Hey everybody, this is Matthew Soltesiak and you're listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast. Using my sportscasting background, I speak with a variety of guests and interview key players to gain more insight on what makes this team go. As the Detroit Lions enter a new gritty era, we'll look beyond just the kneecaps when it comes to the analysis. Welcome to another episode. In this episode, we preview the Detroit Lions Week 14 matchup with the Chicago Bears. Now, what do we expect in this rematch that sends the Lions to Soldier Field? The Bears are coming off a win and a bye since their loss against the Lions. So let's talk about what to expect from Chicago before we get inside the Lions side of things. Let's get to it, Lions fans.
Hey, this is Rob Rubik. Stay tuned for more great insight from This Is Not the Same Old Lions podcast.
I'm joined today by Coach Jesse Smith. He's coached football since 2009, both in Illinois and in Michigan. He was head coach of a semi-pro team and is currently a high school varsity coach. In addition to his coaching experience, Jesse knows all things Chicago Bears and is even an Ohio State Buckeye fan. So that lines up perfectly for this segment. Coach Smith, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, well, let's talk about where the Bears stand with that Ohio State quarterback, Justin Fields. The last time the Lions saw him and fans saw him, he and the Bears got to that big lead in Detroit before that mad scramble at the end by the Lions. Since then, the Bears won an ugly one over the Vikings, but it was a win nonetheless, and they've had a bye week. So let's start with the quarterback. That's like the most important position, and he is the most recognizable name on that team. Where do you think things stand with Justin Fields right now?
I think both sides, it's a interview process. It's an interview for Justin Fields to see if he belongs as the franchise quarterback. But then I think it's also an interview for Justin Fields for the other teams in the NFL to say I can be a franchise quarterback, and it may not be in Chicago. Like you said, a bye week. The Minnesota game was ugly. We saw a lot of short passes, nothing deep. So got an extra week. You expect to come out offense, you hope, looks to be firing. But based on the history with this coaching staff and this quarterback, it's a little worried about what we might see coming up this week.
All right, now I know, after the last couple of weeks, the Lions worked with Jared Goff on ball security during the mini bye because of that Thanksgiving game. What do you think the coaching staff might be working on with him or the offense during the bye week?
Hopefully taking some shots downfield. Justin Field has an arm. He has a cannon. But for some reason, I don't know if it's him second-guessing himself, if it's coming from the coaches that we want you to stay in the pocket and not run. You go back to that meeting against Detroit. He rushed for over 100 yards the first 3.5 quarters. You go in the fourth quarter, they kind of put the running out of his hands when they wanted to eat up some time. So, like, that's, are we going to see more heavy running? But I got to imagine if Detroit watched that Minnesota game and saw how Minnesota just put everybody in the box and say, hey, throw it deep. It'd be interesting to see what the Lions do defensively to kind of take their run game away from Chicago. Hopefully we see the pass game open up. But like I said, Chicago fans were worried about, it's a big decision. These next couple games, like I said, is an audition for Justin Fields as a quarterback, either for the Bears or if we can get some type of trade value for him.
I was surprised. I think a lot of Lions fans were as how conservative the play calling was in that fourth quarter by the Bears, where they were just running the ball up the middle. And I'm like, please continue to do that because I'm not afraid of that. I'm more afraid of what Justin Fields can do. If we flip to the other side of the ball, the defense might be the biggest part of Chicago's turnaround. Now, what do you think or what are you expecting out of the Bears defense coming into this game?
Well, if you look at the stats, Bears are probably they're in the top 10 of best against the run. But the pass, they only right now, I think, coming in at 17 sacks. I think it's the lowest in the NFL in regards. They've given up 30 touchdowns over the air. So I believe they will be able to stop the run game, but Jared Goff and this offense is quick and fast. We saw yesterday against the Saints. They can, a little short 10-yard pass can turn into like a 40-yard touchdown. So I think it's going to be a question of how that Bears secondary hold up because you saw Jared Goff sliced us up that last 3 minutes of that fourth quarter while we were trying to run the clock. They just went to the air, and the Bears have struggled in the secondary this year, and I think you might see a big game from Goff this weekend.
Well, let's talk about that key to success. The Bears, the record's not great, but they do seem to be improving. They started 0-4. They've gone 4-4 since then. So for the Bears to be successful against the Lions, what is it going to take? What are the keys for the success?
You got to imagine the Bears aren't going to be able to get 4 turnovers like they did, a couple weeks ago again. But like I said, it's able to stop the run, not let Montgomery get going. But I think the key is, can they get pressure? I think adding Sweat has showed that front four we're starting to get some pressure. I think that might be a little bit different and protect that secondary. Like I said, the Bears are great against the run, but we struggle against the pass. We struggle to get pressure. So I think if we can get pressure again on Goff and force some turnovers, it'll keep us in the game.
Now, this is a rematch, right? The two teams face each other just, on November 19th, but now it's a home game for the Bears, and they're coming off a bye. Are either of those things that can be helpful, and can that change things for Chicago in this?
I think what changes for Chicago, they play outside. The Lions is a northern Michigan. They're a Michigan team, but they play in a dome. So it's going to be cold. It's going to be frigid. Probably going to be windy. So if it's windy, then, you can't really throw that ball like you want to. And if you got to go to the run game, it fits into what the Bears do great on defense. They stop the run.
So if the Bears are going to win this game, what has to happen for Chicago? What do they have to do?
I think they got to open up the offense. You got to let Fields be Fields. I think if you can get him to get some quick passes, get the run game going, make him a threat, make the defense play 11 on 11, where they have to account for Fields as a runner, but somehow get those passes behind those spine linebackers. And they got to put up points, because Detroit can put up points. So they got to be able to move the ball, put up points, and, like I said, get pressure on Goff. If we can get pressure on Goff, it'll help slow down that passing game.
Well, you talked about the Bears trying to open up the offense, or you're hoping they do. I mean, they've got one of the best receivers in the division, if not in the conference, in DJ Moore. And that guy should concern any secondary. Is that a key to the success, you think?
It is, because I think what's happening is, he's right now. I think he's over 1,000 yards. The closest receiver last year was 400. That was commit at 400 yards. So we got DJ already at 1,000 yards. But he's going to get doubled guys over. So hopefully that can help open up for other guys to come in and make some big plays. But like I said, adding DJ, it's a big bonus. And I think it goes into the minds of a lot of Chicago fans. We're like, hey, we got one weapon for Justin. Can we go and possibly get another weapon and keep him around for one more year? Or are we scrapping everything and starting over? It's a big question mark for that Bears organization right now. Like I said, these next 4 games, we're not playing for the playoffs. We're trying to see what we're going to do for the future of the Chicago Bears.
All right, well, the Lions are playing for the playoffs, and so this game is very win-loss. This isn't style. They want the victory. If the Lions want to win this game, what is it that the Lions have to do to come out of Soldier Field with a victory?
I think if they come out hot like they did against New Orleans and are able just to and if the Bears play conservative, and I think they can really get after the Bears, I think they might be a little motivated after watching Green Bay beat Kansas City, and now they're sitting at 6-6, and Jordan Love is starting to cook. So you might be like, hey, we don't have a lot of room to play around with, So I think if no turnovers, get the offensive going. If they can get the run game going, I think that'll really benefit them, because, like I said, that's the Bears' best aspect of their defense is their run defense. But if they can get Montgomery and those guys going, it'll open up their play action game. And I think the Bears will be in trouble from then, because I think right now I feel like this coaching staff can go blow to blow, play for play offensively with the Lions.
All right. Well, as we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts?
Like I said, we're not playing for a championship. We're not playing for a playoff spot. Open up the offense. Let's see what Justin Fields can do. If he shows these next couple of games like he can be the franchise guy, then we know we can build around him. If not, get something for him. But hopefully they don't play conservative, because you're not playing for anything. You're like they say, you're playing with house money these next couple of games. So hopefully that's what we see from Chicago.
Coach Smith, I really appreciate your insights, your thoughts on the Bears and the experience you bring to this. Thank you so much for being here, for your time, and for this conversation for the Chicago Bears Detroit Lions preview.
Yep, thank you.
And now that we've had a chance to talk a little bit from the Bears' perspective and hear about Chicago, let's talk about our Detroit Lions.
Hi, this is Billy Sims, and you listening to Not the Same Old Lions podcast.
I'm joined by Coach Jerry Angers, named Michigan High School Coach of the Year, as well as Coach of the Week by the Detroit Lions. He's also mentored numerous players at the college level and some all the way to the NFL. Good to have you here as always, Coach.
Oh, for sure, especially we're after a big victory.
Man, we've had more of those than not, and I appreciate that. Let's keep that going as we get into it. Just a reminder to listeners, please hit the subscribe or like button. It is helping us build momentum. We want to keep doing that. Now, Coach, before you and I get into the Bears preview, let's take a look at some of the major storylines surrounding the Lions right now. There's a lot to talk about. And surprisingly, at 9-3, there's a lot to talk about that isn't as optimistic as one would think. But let's start with the defense, because that's where the area we're hearing the most. And I want to talk about something that might have been a good thing out of a bad situation. Alex Anzalone was injured. He did not play last week. That forced Jack Campbell to get required reps, if you will. Now, the Lions, they've been working him in and getting him in the fold, but sometimes when you just get put into something and you have no choice but to like jump in the pool and sink or swim, as they say, I imagine this one game experience of being the guy could really help adjust the speed of his learning curve on this year. What are you thinking on that?
Oh, you're totally correct on that. You basically get thrown in. He's out there the last few where, as the season goes on, running around playing football, lining up, maybe looking at somebody, oh my God, where am I supposed to line up? I remember one game 2 weeks ago, Anzalone looked at him on a touchdown pass, like, what are you doing? Where he may have made a mistake on that. And then for him to step up and say, you're the guy with the green dot on your helmet. You're the guy that's got to make the calls. You're the guy that's got to put us in the right place. I guarantee his film, and I know he's probably a film study fanatic, which is what I read, but I'll guarantee his film study picked up a notch. And for him to go out there and do what he did and play as well as he did will only benefit us down the road. When you got Anzalone back and he's on the field and Barnes is on the field, now you got three. He basically became a second-year player in one game because he had to call the shots for one game. And now you're going into down the stretch when we need to get a victory to get in the playoffs, down the stretch when we need to win the NFC North, down the stretch if we get into the playoffs. So those are just huge things for him. He did it at Iowa. It's a little different on the NFL Sundays, but there's just no doubt we could not teach that in a practice and film sessions or anything like that by what he experienced on Sunday, tenfold on his knowledge of the game.
Well, and I think anybody who hasn't played the game can take this and relate it to their own life about you being trained on the job for something and you're the assistant when someone's helping you. And then the day that you have to do it on your own that day is going to be a stressful, maybe overwhelming day. But by the end of that day, things have slowed down for you for a little bit, that the next time you're doing that, you've got an air of confidence and another level of knowledge that you didn't have beforehand, which the great thing for Campbell is he had 10 to 12 weeks of working in before being thrown in. So that probably helped make the adjustment a little bit smoother and maybe helped him get more out of that adjustment.
Oh yeah. And, the other thing too, that helps, is that the confidence level that the coaching staff have given him prior to this game, putting him in situations, whether he's playing outside, playing inside, they're moving him around, things like that. His plays that he's made over the games, the dive and knock down the ball, the being a great late, coming down and making a big hit, those all helped out for him. But this was just, and I'll guarantee the butterflies were floating when he went out there. And I'll guarantee he was nerved up and there's a pucker factor all tight. But after he made that first tackle, we knew we were in pretty good shape.
That's awesome, man. That's exciting because this is a player we're hoping to see a lot out of, and it seems like he's growing as the season goes on. Now let's turn to some more concerning news, though. Aleem McNeil, arguably our best inside defensive lineman, got injured in the game. He has now been put on IR. The Lions have signed another veteran player on defense. You know, this move comes just after the recent signing of Bruce Irvin. And Irvin played this past week, made an impact immediately. How concerned are you about McNeil, and what do you make about these veteran moves the Lions are bringing these guys in on?
Well, the McNeil thing is concerning because of how well he's been playing and what level he has brought his game up to. You know, he's playing at an all-pro level. Anytime you lose somebody like that, but we've been dealing with that all year. You know, whether it's on the offensive line, we lost Anzalone last week. Somebody's got to step up. You know, the old cliche, next man up. And so I think we got Bugs still in camp. Bugs is still there. We still got the other guys. We got some high. You know, Kamensky could go in there. We just signed another veteran. Which, he probably won't be ready, but who knows? He may be. And so I think that's the biggest thing is, you're going to, people are going to have to step up and do what they need to do to make us better. And we can't, you can't look back and say, oh my God, McNeil's out. You got to look into the mirror and say, what can I do to make us a better football team? I think the Lions, it's funny because there's a couple things off. Why are they signing the old guys? Because they've signed a couple old guys. But I think bringing veterans in right now, we are a young football team. I take last week's game. We're up 21-0, 7 minutes into the game. Okay, 21-0, 7 minutes in the game. What are the younger guys thinking? They just came off college a year or two or whatever, 3 years. They're thinking, oh, this game's over with. Nah, this is the NFL. And so the older guys are going to teach and help our younger guys progress. They have a lot of tricks up their sleeves on how to get free on pass rush, especially the defensive line guys. And you look what Bruce Irvin did for us in that game on Sunday. And so I think it's sometimes you have to add those veterans to help teach on the field because Coach Campbell and AG and the rest of the guys can't be on the field or in that huddle. But you put an older guy in that huddle, or you put an older guy in practice, or they're going to teach these younger guys. You're not practicing hard enough, guys. You think you're practicing hard? You're not practicing hard. And I think those are things that we are trying to, that Coach Campbell and Brad Holmes have gone after. And that's to get some knowledgeable guys to help us make our younger guys better.
Those are excellent points. I love the analogy to college football because that's the game when a team's up 21-0. You're like, hey, especially if you're used to playing in a good program where a lot of these guys come from, you're used to the game being over, but not in the NFL. And then, experience, right? You can't teach experience. You need to live experience. And so what those guys bring is amazing. Now one of the things that Coach Campbell was asked about, specifically the name Ndamukong Suh came up at the press conference, and he did not say Suh's name, but he did say, listen, Brad has looked at every possibility. He said, we've looked at all things. We've not left any stone unturned, paraphrasing there. He goes, the moves we made are the moves that are the right moves for us right now. So he answered it without coming out and addressing that one specifically, but saying, hey, we've considered everything. And so, and I don't think you and I have any doubt in that. We know how tuned in Brad Holmes is and how he's analyzing everything out there. But as our defense stands right now, I want to throw some stats out because at 9-3, we got a lot of people who are really concerned about our team. And right now, the Lions on defense rank 14th in yards allowed, 14th out of 32. But they're 22 in points allowed. So that's not as good. And if you break it down, they're number 5 against the run, which is really good, and only 22 against the pass. And those numbers have gone down a little bit for the pass as the season's gone on. I want to just throw something out there. I want to throw last year's final stats out there, Coach. And I know these get skewed as well because the first half of the season was very different than the last half. But we finished the season last year bottom 4 in yards allowed, bottom 4 in points allowed, bottom 4 in rushing yards allowed, bottom 3 in passing yards allowed. And so I know that's not how they were playing down the stretch, but as an overall thing, we are much improved from there. And so even though our defense isn't a shutdown defense, I don't think that was something that we realistically were expecting before the season started. How are you feeling about our defense overall, knowing that, hey, we're doing some things pretty well, and then we've got some flaws here and there?
We're not as bad as the Eagles defense. They gave up how many points to San Francisco last week? Sorry, we're 9-3, okay, and the naysayers, we're going to win the Super Bowl. These same people are going to go, we didn't win the Super Bowl by enough, or we gave up too many points in the Super Bowl. It's just frustrating. And Grant, yeah, I'm concerned with it, but here's the thing I looked at. We last week, okay, won the turnover battle, correct?
Correct.
That was one of our goals. We last week talked about getting pressure on the quarterback and getting more sacks. Did we do that last week?
We did that.
We did that. So those are things that we've gone at. Are we losing? We have to remember, and I think we talked about last week, we lost our safety. We lost the corner that we brought in. We lost the pass rush specialist that we should have had. He was eight sacks in 7 games last year. That Houston, that probably would make a big difference. All right. But the point is, we lost. Those are big shoes to fill when those are guys that we went out. I mean, 2 guys we went out and got on the free agent market to shore up our pass coverage, to get some more people back there with knowledge, going back to the older guys that could help bring these younger guys along. Okay, so last week, our defense, did we rough the passer last week and give them a free first down?
We did, yes.
Did. And again, that's part of the game. But did we tip a ball that probably would have been a pick, maybe a pick 6, and then ended up in them scoring on that? Yes, we did. So those are all things. People have to look at those different things. That's what the Lions are looking at. Just like the week before when he watched the Packers game, Coach Campbell, and said there were some good things in that game. Us people who've been rooting for these Detroit Lions forever, no, we're not Super Bowl bound. Are the Philadelphia Eagles people panicking right now? Are the San Francisco 49er people panicking a few weeks back when they lost 3 in a row? Are we as good as them? I don't know. We got to play them. But my point is, we got better defensively last week. We got better. We did the things that we set out to do. And hopefully with Irvin in and the D-line in and stuff like that, and guys coming back, we're going to get even better. So that's my 2 cents on that.
All right, well, I will buy that 2 cents, if you will, because I agree that they made the improvements in the offseason, but C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley going down with injury really hurt the secondary. And obviously James Houston hurt the pass rush expectations by those guys all being out. I still agree with you on not being major movers at the trade deadline. A lot of people aren't thrilled about that, but again, you look at what the Bears had to give up for Montez Sweat, and then how much they had to pay the guy. And we've got some guys that are going to get paid on this team and deserve it because of what they put into this team already. I honestly think Brad Holmes said, we're making a run. We've got a shot, but we don't want to mortgage the future, if you will, by giving up something that sets us back because we're on an upward trajectory. If you look at the 49ers, they've been in the position they're in as a good team for a number of years now. This isn't their first winning season or second winning season in the last 8 or 9 years. And so they're at a spot where maybe they're starting to feel a little pressure that they need to get somewhere. I mean, if you look at Christian McCaffrey, he is not a second-year running back. And so they've got to make something happen. So it seems like they're going in on that. And so you talked about it. The defense is not perfect, but they're making plays. And you talked about the turnover thing. We had not been getting many turnovers. We got 2 this past week, 2 takeaways. And Campbell talked about that, changing that thing, because that right there can shift things quite a bit for a defense. And so the one thing I do want to say is the 3rd and longs. If we can somehow cut down on giving up first downs on 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15, that will make me feel better. But if you look at the first half of that Saints game, we forced them to punt multiple times, and the defense got it done, and that allowed the offense to get out to that lead. And so, the second half wasn't as good, but the defense, hey, I'm okay with it where it's at, considering the situation we're in and knowing that, hey, you know what? The offense was supposed to carry this team, and that's what is expected. So let's switch over to the offense right now. We'll look at the big concern right now, the first one, Frank Ragnow getting hurt, and that hurts us. Coach, talk to me about the offensive line. What are your thoughts on Ragnow's injury? We don't know what it's going to look like or when he'll be back, but what are you thinking about the O-line right now?
Well, that's the guy who touches the ball in every play. That's the guy who touches the ball to start the play. That's the guy who makes the calls. It's going to hurt us a little bit. Last time we played the Bears, we didn't have Jonah Jackson. Okay, this time we don't have Frank, and I think Ragnar. I mean, that's going to be a big one. The nice thing is Glasgow has played that center position for us, and he's done a great job. Anytime we've been dealing with this all year. We've been dealing with this all year with, and you and I were texting back and forth. Can our offense line please stay healthy for more than? I mean, what do we got? 3.25 games or 3 in the third game, whatever, where they've all been together. Yet we continue to still do things. We continue to still make plays. And so, it's going to hurt you. But I think with Jonah there is going to, and Glasgow there, and then you got, of course, then Sorsdahl, I think is going to be the right guard, which is going to help because I think that's his best side. Plus, he's knows he's starting there, knows he's going to be there, and knows that he's played that position before. So I think that's going to help. I believe he played against the Bears 3 weeks ago. I think it's probably on the left side. So if I'm not mistaken, but I may be mistaken. But I mean, those are things that are definitely going to help out. That hurts us. It's funny. The Bears were talking. I read a thing today, and the guy that wrote this article, which I want to read you a couple things from it.
Yeah.
Talking about our offense, but he said, the Bears have had to start different offensive lines the last 4 weeks. I'm laughing, going, so have we. I think we've been 9 weeks or 10 weeks, but that's still part of it. You look at the Eagles and those teams like that. What was the one I sent you the other night? The one offense line, they've only missed 17 snaps.
That was the Cincinnati Bengals. That's incredible stat. 17 snaps all year.
Yeah, the same five guys that started every game, they've only had 17 snaps. So yeah, that's huge. So I think those are things that we got to talk about. So I was talking about our offense. So I'm reading this article today from this guy, and it's called NFC North. Okay.
Yeah.
No country for old men. Okay. And which is great. He was talking about how young the Bears are, how young the Lions are, how young the Packers are. And then he talked about how the Bears have a couple older guys, a holder and that. And I said, well, we did the same thing. So anyways, let me read to you what his feeling on our offense is. The Lions are second on offense without players who anybody could call physically dominating or intimidating at a skill position. Wow. St. Brown is extremely effective, excellent at his craft, but not a speed demon or a big receiver. Okay. Jameson Williams is the closest thing they had to one in the receiver core, and he's only been targeted 24 times. I'm shocked at him writing something like this.
Yeah.
Laporte is not very good. I forgot about him. St. Brown is dominating and intimidating because of his stature. I'm not sure where he's going with it. But so my point was, then he kind of got into the thing about they've had their offense line have been down. We don't have much to worry about. Some of our guys are better. So basically he's saying our offense is not threatening and the Bears should go into the game not concerned with what our offense looks like. And so I just thought you'd get a kick out of that. No country for old men. That's the article.
Yeah, those are some surprising takes, especially considering the comeback the Lions made against the Bears. Now, if you look at the offensive numbers, he said it. The Lions are second in yards on offense behind only the Miami Dolphins. We're sixth in points scored. And then this stat, I think it's gone between fourth and fifth. But what I love is it seems like every week we talk about it, there's one thing that's the same. Our rushing and our passing is ranked the same in the league. We're fourth in both, which again tells you how balanced we are. And like last week, I felt like at times our running game wasn't working and we went to the passing game. And so it's really nice knowing you can flex between the two. And so let me ask you, how are you feeling about our offense right now?
Oh, I feel great. I mean, I just think we eliminated the turnovers this week. Okay. So we got better there. Of course, they're talking about the weather conditions and that golf doesn't play well outside. And oh my God, what's going to happen? The over under just dropped 5 points today because what the weather that's coming in. So again, we're gonna be able to, when we have to run the football, we run the football. We have to throw the football, we throw the football. If we have to come back, we can throw the football. If we have to kill the clock, we can run the football. I think we're going to be able to again exploit those things by what they did to us. What happened with us last time we played the Bears? We had 4 turnovers, correct? I think it
Yep.
was turnovers. First time in 49 games that somebody with 4 turnovers. Wow, we don't have to get into those numbers. But so I think I'm not concerned with that situation. I think we're starting to blend in JMO. I think our receiving core, I mean, if you look at, we got guys that can run reverses. We got guys, whether it's JMO or Raymond, we got guys that make big catches in critical situations. I think we have one of the best tight ends in the game. And our second string our other tight is pretty at blocking, as well as he catches some big plays. So I'm very excited about that, and it'll be fun to see what we do outdoors. It'll be fun what we see to do if the weather is the way it is.
I'm glad you brought the weather thing up because I've heard that thing about Jared Goff, and I'm sure there are stats that back that argument up. But I'm going to share the eye test with you, the eyeball test. What have I seen? Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the Lions went into New York twice last year and won outdoors, Jets and Giants. And one of them wasn't that warm of a game, if I'm not mistaken. And then they went to the coldest place on football earth, and they went to Lambeau Field on the last week of the season, and they won a football game outdoors and knocked a team out from qualifying for the playoffs. And so I'm going to say, you know what? Maybe Jared Goff's stats are back up that argument, but I'm saying they've won some pretty good games outdoors in my lifetime, and him playing for the Detroit Lions, that I'm okay with this. And I think it's one of those things that maybe is over embellished or overemphasized. And so weather affects anybody and everybody. I'm sure if you ask most players, they would rather play indoors. I'm sure there's some football players that just love the outdoor feel, but most things go better. It's more of a controlled environment. Now, Coach Campbell talked about the weather being an equalizer, and it can change things quite a bit. But I'm looking forward to that outside thing as well. I think the offense is getting better right now. I think the Saints game showed us with that end around to JMO, which I think I saw a thing on Twitter today, or X, that the Lions ran that last year with Khalif Raymond, and which doesn't shock me because you can run different players, different formations, and run those plays again. But I think the offense it's got the potential to continue getting better because we see these guys growing, and you see more wrinkles. And you brought up Sam Laporta, Coach. We went over his stats a couple weeks ago, and it seems like the rookie record is the one that he's most likely to break with receptions. But here's the thing. There's so many different weapons on our team. I mean, you could argue that David Montgomery could easily get to 18 touchdowns rushing this year, except we got Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta, and those guys in the red zone, plus St. Brown. I mean, we have so many options. And so I'm excited for the offense. I know we sometimes get it going in high gear, and then suddenly we get stuck in first. So that's something that's got to work out. But going back to that article you brought up, like, I don't know of a more physical person in football and at the wide receiver position than Amon-Ra St. Brown. And as a team, as a collective, I really love our receiving core.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, St. Brown did, I think, have the highest fine by the NFL this year, wide receiver. But
got to be the largest percentage of his salary, that's for sure.
Yeah, poor guy. But yeah, he's a tough individual. And again, what is the intimidating part and stuff like that you're talking about? The intimidation for me is not size; it's heart. It's not.
Yeah.
It's what he does with the ball when he gets it, is what he does when he makes a play when he has to, and when is he making big plays to turn the game around. I mean, those are big things. And you go back to that, whether it's him or JMO or our running backs or Laporta or Khalif Raymond or any one of those guys can do anything. I mean, they're always coming back at you with something. And I totally agree. I think we are getting better. I think we're starting to feel where we're at. I think when our offensive line, we're up 21-0 last week, and then 8 minutes into the second quarter, we lose our starting center. And so, things kind of, those are all whether it's weather or whether it's injuries, those things all play a mind game with you, and we have to learn how to overcome it, and that's what we're starting to develop with the younger guys, And again, the weather. You can talk about. We can go back to that again. Your play calling is different from an offensive coordinator. And so, yeah, the throws aren't going to be the same, or the run game, the run game is probably going to be a little bit more, or did the ball slip out of a receiver's hands? Was the ball tipped? Did Goff slip on his foot trying to throw the ball? You got to take all those things in there. I totally agree with you. You made a great point about our offense getting better. You made a great point about what we did last year in outdoor stadiums.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about expectations then. The Lions are 9-3. They got a 3-game lead on the division. We got 5 weeks to go. Everyone in their division has played better the last 5 weeks than they did the 5 weeks before that. But I hear a lot of fans down on the team more than I would expect at this point with this record. Let me throw a little history out here. The 2014 team was the last Detroit Lions team to win 11 games. They went 11-5. They started that season 7-2. They made it to 11-4 before losing the finale to Green Bay, getting a wild card spot. The last 12-win team was way back in 91. That was also the last team that won a playoff game. So, Coach, how are you feeling about the team at this point? If I'm reading your body language, and I know you and I talk all the time, you're optimistic and you're excited.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Again, we're 9-3. And again, we got to get to 1-0 this week. And I think that's the thing. We just got to keep building on what we're doing. You hear Dan every week talk about, we did some good things. We're growing. We're getting better. I saw this. We got to fix that. That's part of the growth period. That's part of developing young guys into making plays and coming together. And my biggest thing on that is I go back to, if we get some of those guys back from injury, if we get to be 100, we can't be 100% because we lost 2 guys for the season, I think, correct? Or 1 for sure for the season. And so, from that standpoint, I'm feeling pretty confident with it. I'm feeling great about it. I'm feeling, oh my God, we're 9-3. I'm feeling, hey, we're over 500 2 years in a row. I mean, those are the things that, and we talked about, it's a stepping stone. How close can we get? We drank some Kool-Aid from the media during the year about, they may be the number 1 seeded team. Oh, they're the best team. Oh my God, their offense. Oh my God. So we as fans, you and I and everybody else are going, we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm already looking at how am I going to pay for it? But let's be realistic. Let's just keep winning, and those things will take care of themselves. So I'm excited about Sunday. I'm excited to see we can get to 1-0 this week, and that's kind of what I'm looking for.
I agree with those things. I know you and I have a lot of similar thoughts on this, but I'm actually glad the media is kind of doubting us now, because I don't care. Like, let us prove them wrong. Don't worry so much about what they're saying and what they're thinking, and then we'll surprise people with that. So a lot can happen in 5 weeks, 1 week at a time. Let's talk about this week. All right, Coach Campbell was talked about it when asked about the Bears. Here was his opening remarks.
Got a real good opponent this week. Look, this team's playing at a high level. They've been playing pretty good. Obviously got Fields back against us the first time, and played a really good game against us. We were fortunate to come out with a win. And then Minnesota, man, they playing at a high level right now. The quarterback's playing well. He's dangerous with his legs. This defense is opportunistic, 8 turnovers in 2 games. And they're relentless, man. This team plays hard. So, we're going to have our hands full this week. There's nothing easy about this one.
Coach Campbell's talking like a coach there. He sees the Bears and what they present as challenges. No doubt Chicago's playing better. Coach, what are you expecting the Lions to do coming into this game against Chicago?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they're going to defensively, they're going to try to keep Fields bottled in. But like he said in his conference that, everybody comes in every week and says, we got to keep him. This is how we got to rush him. And the next thing you know, his speed is gone. He's outside and he's at an 8, 9, 10-yard gain. So I think that's the biggest thing. So we're going to probably try to eliminate. He's going to get those. He's going to get, he's going to get those. I think we're going to try to eliminate a ton of those, or more than 4 or 5. Again, I don't know what their goal is. They're not going to go in and say we're going to shut him down You're not going to go in there and say he's not getting a 9-yard run today, because when he gets a 9-yard run, your mental health falls. That's why you don't say we're going 17-0. That's why you say we're not going 3-0. That's why you always talk about 1-0. So I think that's one of the things is we're going to try to eliminate him from making huge splash plays that continue drives. I think that's the first thing. Okay. The other two things, then again, we have to try to stop those. That Moore went for, I think, 96 yards against us last week. And of course we got to keep the tight end out of the end zone. So I think that's what we'll kind of do. Well, we won't factor in the weather because I think our game plan in this situation is to keep Fields from making big splash plays. And and the other thing is we're going to try to come out and hope we come out fast to keep the Bears crowd out of it, unless we take over the stadium like we've done in all the previous away games.
That is true. We have traveled well. And so we are traveling to Soldier Field. I mean, you and I are not for this game, but a number of Lions fans are. But this is a rematch game, Coach, just a few weeks apart. We're going to have something happen with Minnesota later. Have you ever had to play the same team twice in a season when you were coaching? And what goes into that?
Well, yeah, there's a couple different things happen with it. I mean, let's look at Oregon and Washington, from the college level. I hate to bring that up, but, missed field goal, I believe, at the end of the game. Oregon was favored by 8 going into this game against Washington, who's undefeated, and they got hit pretty good. I mean, again, Bo Nix, takes the whole blame for himself because he made a critical interception and stuff like that. So those things always play in to your game plan, because you have seen some things, and then you kind of just reassure that those things they're going to happen exactly the same way. Did they run the same offense? Did they run Fields off the edge? Did they do more twists and turns in between our last game and their game? And you kind of just dot, cross the T's and dot the I's and decide what they're going to do from that situation. You look at, from our standpoint, we had 4 turnovers last time we played them. We can't have 4 turnovers. And then I think did they have 2, I believe? I think they had 3 and they only lost two fumbles.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So it was a 4-2. So I think that's one of the things that we're going to try to get in there and make sure that we're better than them, the plus minus and the turnover range. And again, the other thing too is, Dan Campbell and the staff are preaching, there's no way we can come back from behind and beat this team again. We have to be the front runners. And those are the things that they're going to emphasize. And we've done that. We've gotten beat by a team. We turned around. I mean, I remember getting smashed by St. Francis in the regular season one game, and we went into the playoff game and lost to them 20-13. And so, it's a big difference, but we had more negatives than that and came up with more positives. I think the Lions will be doing the exact same thing this week. So again, we play each other twice a year anyways. It's the Bears, it's the Lions. We're a border apart, and this is what the black and blue division is all about.
The other thing, Coach, if you remember, the Minnesota Vikings were doing pretty darn good until the Chicago Bears totally limited their offense. So this is definitely a team we should not be expecting. Oh, we had 4 turnovers last time. We cut down the turnovers, we win the game. It's going to take a solid effort, and I'm sure Coach Campbell and the rest of the staff has let them know, hey, this Bears team is improving. They shut down the Vikings, who were on a roll. We need to be in there, be ready to play. And I like that point you made, telling them, don't think you can come back again like that when there was like a 1.2% chance of success. And so that'll be a lot. I expect the Lions to maybe try and get that running game going. They love to do that. And it's not just because it's an outdoor thing. They want to control time of possession. So I'm thinking that is going to be what they're going to try and do. And again, if the Bears try and take that away, it could force us into the other thing. So we talked about Soldier Field. We hope there's a pretty good Lions contingency there. Outdoor cold weather game. It's going to be about 35 degrees. I think it's going to drop 20 degrees. It was 55 on Saturday. It'll be about 35 on Sunday is what the weather report looks like, but it's going to be dry. I think that's what we expect out of the Lions coming into the game and kind of Soldier Field. Got a trivia question here for you, folks and Coach. And it's an easier one, I will admit that, but I want to throw this out there. This former Detroit Lion quarterback left the Lions and went to Chicago and became the starter in Chicago. And this guy was also the last quarterback to lead the Detroit Lions to a playoff victory.
Oh, God. It's got to be, is it Kramer?
Yeah.
Got to be Eric Kramer.
Yeah, it's Eric Kramer. Anyone that knows the Lions history, probably not the toughest question, but love getting those trivia questions out there. Want to let people know about a logo update coming for the podcast. Working on that. That's coming soon. So keep your eye out. Don't be confused. But expect to see that coming up here shortly. Same content, just a little logo update. Coach, we got to wrap this up here pretty quickly. Prediction time. What do you got for predictions on us?
Lions are going to start fast. They're going to keep their foot on the gas pedal. They're going to have a good third quarter. That's all I'm giving you.
I would take all of that. I'm hoping we get this done. We get the 1-0 because that would mean a big thing for a lot of things. I'm predicting we get the running game going. I'm predicting that we get the job done. And I'm hoping to see this might be the most complete game we've played in a while. Coach, thanks so much for being here talking Detroit Lions as usual.
Oh, definitely. Good talking to you, Matt.
And thank you so much for tuning in, folks. You can find all the episodes at notthesameoldlions.com. If you're listening on YouTube, please hit that like button. And while you're at it, tell your friends about the show and please subscribe regardless of your listening platform. Until next time, stay gritty, my friends.